Hi parents, this is Dr. Leslie Blevins with EnildaClinic.com, and today we are talking about summer routines to help your kids stay calm, cool, and collected, and you too. And so this is really an extension of the types of strategies that I talked about during the homeschool crisis homeschooling that we did for 3 months before summer started. And so I want to preface this that the types of skills that I'm talking about for summer are basically things you can do to practice helping to manage your child's time and space so that as you go into the fall, into school, they will be trained, one, to do these strategies, and you're doing that training now while there's low stress, there's not really due dates for assignments, and the kids are doing more fun activities, things like that, so that whenever they do go into the fall, it will be much more easy breezy to get them to follow routines. So that's kind of what this video is all about. Of course, everybody's summer is different, and I'm making this before I really know what all of the social isolation restriction levels are, and I think they should be changing over the summer, increasingly getting easier unless we have a second wave. So I might be saying some things that don't fit with your specific social isolation requirements. So make sure you always follow your local government's restrictions for social isolation, and you're always keeping your health and safety for yourself and your family at the front of your mind. Okay, so let's get started. The big thing here is thinking about space and time. What I want you to really think about is, one, you do deserve a break. So yes, take a break, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, whatever you guys need to feel well rested and recovered from the homeschooling 3 months that we had. Yes, you do deserve that. This video is more about what happens after that break. So I'm going to fast forward. You've had your break, all right? So let's talk about what is it that you need as far as structuring your summertime routine. I want you to think about where your sticky points were during homeschooling. I'm going to kind of make one assumption here, and that's that we're having an internet startup to fall school, okay? That's our worst case scenario. Hopefully, we don't. Hopefully, every child in the U.S. is going to be going back to school in person on the first day of school. In that case, you can still use these strategies because they will still help you with homework, chores, a nighttime routine, getting through extracurriculars, and balancing work and fun, all that kind of stuff. So I'm talking about worst case scenario here, which is everybody has their kids at home and we're trying to manage a balance of social isolation and quarantine with kind of being able to do some of the other stuff plus academics. So I want you to think about where are your child's sticky points, which might be if you have a younger kid, they might not transition well, okay? So you might need to be thinking about how do you manage time for your child? Things like giving reminders or teaching your child to use a timer. Super easy strategies, okay? You can do this during the summer because you're using more preferred activities typically during the summer. You're doing things like playing outside more often, you're playing games with the family. You might, hopefully, we're all going to be able to go outside more, go on hikes, go swimming, doing more fun things. Then the transitions aren't so hard. Because the transitions aren't so hard, your child will be able to respond to things like timers much more easily. And then you can implement praise paired with those timers and actually teach your child to start responding to the timer, okay? Another piece with time is helping your child to understand how long it takes them to do something. And so let's say during the summer, you really want to get the hygiene routine down for your kid. You really want them to understand, that they take a bath, but the bath can really only be 20 minutes or something like that. They have to wash their hair so many times a week or whatever it might be. This might be a great time to implement a visual schedule where you put in order each item that they need to do every time they take a bath, and you actually help them with timers, or you set a start timer and an end timer so that they know when they have to go get in the bath. Whether it's 6:30 p.m. they get in the bath and they need to be out of the bath by 6:50 or whatever it might be. So this is a great way to start practicing those things, because if they mess up, it's not the end of the world. You're not going to be stressed out that they're going to be cranky the next morning for school. Okay, so this is the positive side of this. Whenever you are helping them practice with time, you get to be really happy and positive. You get to approach it with enthusiasm and say, all right, guys, we have a new game. We're going to practice, and I have this visual schedule. You get to follow the steps. If you follow all the steps and beat my timer, then you get blank. And you're the parent, so you get to decide what it is. For consequences, I like to choose common things that are going to occur anyway. So let's say, for instance, you might say, if you beat my timer, you get to choose if you go to bed at 8:03 or 8:08. For a young kid, that's an awesome consequence, okay? For maybe like that middle age range of children, you might say something like, you get to choose if you have an Oreo for your bedtime snack, or if you have a handful of Cheez-Its. There you go. Okay, preference there, choice, right? Like they were going to have a bedtime snack anyway. You're just giving them choice now. And it can be whatever you want. Maybe your family doesn't eat Oreo and Cheez-Its for bedtime snacks. That's totally cool. Put whatever you want in the consequence. I love choice as a consequence because the parent can decide to put as options things that were already going to be available. You can do for a morning routine, favorite mealtime or favorite meals for breakfast. During the middle of the day, you might put doing some sort of favorite activity in there, like maybe stopping at the park or playing a favorite game in the backyard, things like that. And so think about what's going to fit into your schedule too. So one of the things that you don't want to set up is something that's going to take an extraordinary amount of your time as the parent that you aren't going to be able to maintain over the long term. Now, as your child reaches mastery with understanding how long it takes them to do something, with just kind of it becoming a very typical thing for them to manage their time, you can start fading out the reinforcement and not reinforcing them every time, or kind of bulking and grouping together them doing certain activities in order to earn the reinforcer. And in that way, you can fade out the reinforcer and just come to expect them to manage their time. Okay, so now let's move on to managing space. This is another great skill that you guys can practice over the summer whenever the stress levels are typically lower. And so a big one that I've talked about on a couple of different videos is using space to regulate sibling arguments. I think this is important because, of course, kids are all up in each other's space during quarantine and stay-at-home orders. And so helping people to understand that we need, or kids to understand that we all need individual space, we need time apart in order to realize we love each other and we want to come back together, things like that. And so one of the strategies that I like is to kind of do areas of the living room or areas of the home if you have slightly older children that don't need to be visually watched all the time, and putting different toys in those designated areas. This is a strategy where your kid has to be trained on it. And so you want to designate the area. You can put down painter's tape on the carpet, and you can have a Lego area, you can have an American Girl doll area, you can have all these different areas. And of course, I know kids like to play with multiple toys together, so you can group the toys however you want, and you can rotate the kids at different time periods. You can even have a time period of the day where the kids get to play together. I think it's interesting because if you're saying, you know what, you can't play together, it's not time for that, then they're naturally going to want to play together. And so you can actually start increasing their cooperativeness with each other and their urgency to interact with each other by saying, nope, you don't have the opportunity to play together right now. And so by doing this strategy where you're one, keeping certain toys out of their reach, right? Because certain toys will be unavailable in certain spaces. And you're two, also keeping their siblings out of their reach, then you're creating a certain hunger for those items or people. Now, this is also an awesome strategy because what it does is it prevents satiation. Whenever we think about reinforcement, we think about needing certain things for survival. We all need food and water, attention. We need stimulation from toys or activities. We need to escape things that are overstimulating. And so by setting up the environment or the space in your home so that your child is regularly getting different types of stimulation, but never getting overly satiated, then your kid isn't going to become bored and clingy and pestering to either their sibling or to you. And so summer's a great time to trial this out and figure out what it is that your specific kids need. Some kids might need a rotation of every 30 minutes. Some kids might need 15 minutes. Some kids might need every 2 hours. Some kids are going to need certain specific toys. Some kids are going to need different types of toys. This is a general learning video, and so I won't be able to speak to what every family watching this video might need. It's something you're going to have to trial out and figure out what your family needs. Of course, each kid in a sibling group is going to have different needs. I think that's the trickiest part of this type of strategy, is figuring out how do you help with a rotation with different children so that sibling A feels good and calm and confident, gets their socialization needs met, but also has time to kind of withdraw and feel good and just kind of recoup alone. But so does kid B whenever they have a different level of need for socializing and independence time. And also parents, right? Like parents have different levels of those needs. I think if you start to have around middle-aged kids, around like 6 and up, you can start expressing to them that you have those types of needs too. And so a part of your space intervention where you're teaching them how to understand space and giving people space and interacting with people with boundaries and respecting boundaries is that you're also teaching them that mommy and daddy have those needs too. And so over time, they will start to learn how to respect you and not to do so much pestering and bugging and whatnot. I think this is a great strategy too to help build creativity, because inside each of these different areas, there's no rules for what you have. You can have a creativity center, right? Where they just have to create. That can be something with Legos. It can have paper and crayons. It can have anything, Play-Doh, whatever you want in there. And I think that's such an amazing thing for the summer where kids can really explore that part of their brain. Now, I know what everybody's thinking is that, during the summer, still got to get work done. I'm not off on break. You can have a section that has video games. That's okay. It's up to you as the parent what kinds of video games you want to have available, and it's up to you as the parent if you want to have a section for video games for however long you want. Whether your kid is there for 30 minutes or for 3 hours, that's really your choice as a parent. So really, this is all about flexibility for the specific family. And so last point about space is rotating toys. So I'm talking about, up until this point, I was talking about separating toys into different areas of the home. With rotating toys, you're actually removing toys from the view of the child. So you're totally hiding the toy. I recommend you do this, again, to prevent satiation. So let's say that your kid has 8 toys that are highly preferred. Highly preferred means that they play with these toys regularly. They probably play with these toys every single day, I would say. Then I would want to remove probably 4 to 5 of these toys, and I would not remove them while your kid is watching. I wouldn't do that. I would wait until they're either in the backyard playing or with your spouse and out of the house or in a nap or something like that. And then I would remove the toys. And then whenever the kid can't find them, I just say, oh, I don't know. I guess it's just not there. You'll have to find something else to play with. And so, one, it's going to start increasing the diversity of toys your kid is playing with. So, really starting to generate some novelty in their thinking skills. This might actually help if you have a sibling group and having them to start working together to think of new things to do. But two, in a few days, or even in just 1 or 2 days, you can rotate back in a highly preferred toy and take out one that's starting to get boring, that they've played with too much. Okay, so we're preventing oh gosh, I don't know why I can't say that word now. I just remembered that I think I heard a dietitian say it a different way. Satiation is how behaviorists say it, but I think that they said a different way. Anyways, I apologize if I've been saying the word completely wrong. We say it different in the South. So we say satiation. Anyways, so yes, rotate the toys, and your child will constantly have something new and interesting in their environment to keep their attention, and it will prevent that boredom type of behavior of pestering and getting cranky and saying they're bored and needing you to entertain them, or their sibling, poking the sibling, needing the sibling to entertain them. Okay, guys, so we just reviewed 2 things, time and space. Those are the things that I would focus on during the relatively less stressful period of summer. If you master these during summer, then I would say your next school year is going to be exponentially lower in stress, just dramatically lower in stress overall, because then you won't be so focused on mood and behavior management. You can start diving into other little nitpicky things that you really want to target. These kind of general environmental things that might have been going on for the end of last school year, they will be relatively taken care of. If they're not, if you find that things are just not really working, then maybe you want to talk to your child's pediatrician or get a referral for a behavioral specialist. That's always something to do. Remember, this video is only for learning purposes. These are just general learning ideas that I'm giving you, and it's not meant to be able to work for everyone. So yeah. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this learning video. Remember, you can always get them in your email. Just sign up at enildaclinic.com, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.